You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show.
When you're making big decisions, like your decision to take over the organisation, that was bankrupt, that was struggling with no business experience. Like, I'm sure there would have been a lot of people where if you did that research, you'd be like, no. But in your gut, in your heart, it was still there.
Literally everybody that I mentioned it to said, do not do that. That is such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Of course, I've got the kind of personality. If you tell me not to do something, it's going to make me want to do all the more. But prior to taking that on, I was actually a senior manager for a local authority in the Northwest. So I had a really good pension scheme. I had a really good salary. This was before it kind of started to change, I suppose. Yeah, it would have been before the 2008 global economic situation that we all went through. So back then, that kind of a local authority job was seen as secure for life, and then you had a good pension afterwards. And I just decided, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go and take over this bankrupt company, and I'm going to turn it into something special. I mean, who in their right mind would have said, yeah, that's a good idea? And it really, it wasn't, but I made it work.
Well, I think that's the understatement of the century. You made it work to the point where it's now an 8-figure business and one of the most dynamic, fast-growing in the whole of Europe. So you made it work just a tad.
But do you remember when you and a few others, we were sitting around the table and you had to tell me that when it was a 7-figure business and I didn't know it had gone from 7 to 8 and you had to count the numbers up for me? I was thinking, it's been an 8-figure business for 3 years. I'm just not good with numbers. So basically the way I kind of run the business and my focus, if you like, is not about the money coming in. It's not about the profit line and all that. That's good. It is now. It wasn't in the first 7 years. My God, it was so different back then. But I focus on transforming lives. I focus on the service we provide. I focus on what it is I want to achieve. The numbers look after themselves now. If I focus everything I do and everything my teams do on transforming the lives of disabled children and their families, or if it's in my business consultancy work with business owners and their businesses, focus on that. The money just then comes. And I know for some people, they're not in a position where they can wait for the money because it's their new business, but I was in that position for 7 years. And lots of people told me not to do it. And in those 7 years, lots of people said, give up. Look how much money you're losing. Look how much, I think I lost £1 million in the first year or something like that. It wasn't small amounts of money. It was a lot of money. So it was like remortgaging the house, was taking new credit cards. But I didn't want to give up. I just didn't want to give up. And eventually it has become successful. But yeah, it went from a 7-figure to an 8-figure business, I think, was it 2016? Maybe, I think it was the year I won my first international award. But I hadn't realised it had crossed that sort of bracket. Now it's multiple millions. It's a really big business, 600 staff, something in that region. I used to say, when I was talking about the number of staff, I used to say something. In the beginning, it was when I took over the company, there were just under 30 staff, and then it went to like a few hundred, now it's 600. But in those early days, I used to say it was 30 odd staff, because in my head, like something around 30. And then somebody said, perhaps you shouldn't call them odd. I actually thought about it. No, actually, most of them were odd. They were kind of odd people. But one of the things that I've had to do is really think about the kind of workforce I want. And I don't focus on people with particular skill sets or particular qualifications. Yeah, for some of the jobs in the business, they have to be, we run schools, for example, so teachers have to be qualified. That's just a given. You can't do anything about it. But what I look for is attitude and aptitude. Skills and knowledge can come later. You can teach things like that. Attitude and aptitude, you can. So that's what I look for when I'm building the team. But yeah, I did just to call them odd, and they were kind of in a nice way.
But we attract who we're like, right? So you give off.
No, that's not fair. No.
I'm joking.
I'm not odd. I completely accept that I am definitely a quirky kind of person, and yeah, if I don't want to employ carbon copies of me. I don't want to employ, I don't want like 600 David Reids in the business. Oh my God, that would be a nightmare for anybody. But yeah, you do attract certain kinds of people, and likewise, you also repel certain kinds of people. And in the process of developing such a large team, there has been a lot of turnover of staff, because there's people that just weren't right for the business, either because I couldn't work with them or they couldn't work with me, or because I didn't believe that they had the interests of disabled children at the forefront of what they were doing. They just weren't focused on that. They might have been interested in a job or a career or money, but they weren't interested in transforming lives, which is what it's all about for me. And if they're not really focused on that, they're not the right people for me. And I think I've maybe gone off a tangent there.
No, I love it.
I have no
Keep
idea.
going off there. This is exactly what I love on the show. And David, the thing I love the most about you, as you said, is you're not attached to the money. Yes, you can see the results and you've got incredible finance teams that manage that for you, but you're focused on the transforming lives. Now, where we have some people hear your story, they might think, oh my God, he's an 8-figure business owner. Of course, it's easy for him not to focus on the money. But the thing I really value when you share your story is how many people were telling you to give up when it wasn't working. Some people can't even handle 3 months of their business not working. You've handled 6 to 7 years of it. What got you through, or what helped you ignore the people that were saying, David, give up? And possibly within your own thoughts as well. How did you push through?
Well, there were some times I thought, can I do this for another day? There were also some times I thought, the imposter syndrome thing, who the hell do I think I am that I think I can do this? But then I remembered my 12-year-old self making that promise to transform the lives of children. And I thought, I can't give up, because if I give up, I'm giving up on them. I'm not going to give up on them.
That's incredible. That's just really made my eyes water just a little bit too much. But that is so beautiful, because I think that's where what I often hear when I hear people on the show, or I work with lots of clients, they want to give up because it's hard. But if your why is strong enough, like your pain that you were in, going through these 6-7 years of quite literally bankruptcy, but the trust and faith to push through was for that big promise. And that's incredible. What was the first point, or can you remember the first point where you got out of that dark space 6-7 years? Was it one moment where you're like, oh my God, I can sleep for once at night? Or was there a moment that you can recall?
It didn't used to keep me awake, believe it or not. So by 2010, the business had become big enough to employ the first ever finance director. She was the one that didn't sleep. I let her have the sleepless nights. It was the financial year 2012, 2013 when we first made a profit. Now, I said a few minutes ago that in the first year we lost something like £1 million. Over those first 6 years, we lost a hell of a lot of money. In that first year where we turned a profit, 2012, 2013, the grand sum of 20,000. But it was a profit. It was a profit. It was going in the right direction. And by that stage, the reason for that actually was that I just opened a brand new state-of-the-art special school for children with learning disability and autistic spectrum conditions. And I'd been able to do that because I'd badgered an investment company into giving me money. And I remember the first time I went to talk to them, must have been 2007, 2008. I had to come down here to London to talk to them, and there was this huge big investment panel. It included government ministers and all sorts at the time. If I'd known that, I probably would have been too frightened to go into the room. But I went in and I talked to them about an investment of £1 million at the time. I mean, don't forget, we weren't making any money. We were turning over, but we were making a loss. But I asked for £1 million, and one of the panel members the £1 million was because I wanted to create 3 children's homes in the community. The thinking really was that would help move the business forward. I would be able to then think about a school and different other services for children with special needs. But one of the panel members said to me, why should we invest £1 million in you when you're running a loss-making business, and the only way the children's home part of your business can succeed is if you have a new school? And without thinking, and I hadn't planned it, I said, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'll be back in 12 months asking you for 6 or 7 million to build a school. but let me prove I can manage the £1 million first. I walked out of the room and I thought, why did I do that? What am I thinking? 12 months to the day later, I was in the very same room, and the guy who'd asked the question was there on the panel. And I looked over and I went, glad you're here. You'll remember this. You know why I'm here today, don't you? He said, you're the guy that's going to ask for, like, what I can't remember what I asked for, 6 or 7 million to build a school. We had to put some money into it. So I'd got the first million. Unbelievably, I'd got the first million of investment. I'd used it to create 3 children's homes in the community. They were all open and they were all full and all successful within a couple of months. So it provided a secure, safe, nurturing home for, I think it was 12 disabled children at the time. But they needed somewhere to go to school that was equally safe, equally secure, equally nurturing, and had a focus on young people who do have educational special needs, but still learning. In the past, it used to be that those kind of children were seen as written off in many ways, that they would never really learn anything of any significance. So there was never an education challenge. I wanted to create a school where they were safe, it was nurturing, but the education challenge was still there so that they could go on to have successful and fulfilling lives. So I knew that I needed the school. So 12 months later, I was back. I got the money because I'd managed the first million. I don't know how the hell I did that. I mean, I know nothing about money. I mean,
It worked out all right though.
when I first took over the Burton Shaw, as it was called then, it's now the Burton Shaw Group. The first day I asked to see management accounts. I only asked to see them because I'd heard you're supposed to look at them. Not that I knew what they were about, really. But what I didn't expect was to be shown into this cupboard and these big Dickensian ledgers. And they were literally, I don't know how big they were, huge. You opened them and they were nearly like arm span. And they were in this dusty room, and you opened them, there was dust flying everywhere, all over the place. And it was literally handwritten in ink. I'm thinking, oh my God, who does this anymore? They didn't have proper management accounts. It was actually the year-end information. They didn't do monthly management accounts or anything like that. So I've gone from that in 2006 to getting a £1 million in that first income stream in 2007, 2008, whenever it was, managing that successfully, to going back a year later, getting 7 million or whatever. It was 8.3 in total, so it must have been another 7.3. That meant we could build a school on a piece of land that was adjacent to the building that I'd acquired when I got the business. That school opened in September 2012. So it was in the 12-13 financial year. And it was that building that, if you like, then became the launch pad for the growth and development that we've been in ever since. So from 2006 to 2012-13, we'd been in a kind of a bankrupt situation. 2012-13 was the first year we made a profit. And from 2012 to now, so we're in the 23-24 financial year. So I'm crap with numbers. Is that 11 financial years or 12? I don't know. But in those 11 or 12 financial years, we have been continually growing. Between 2012 and 2016, and one of the reasons that we're regarded as one of the fastest growing businesses in the UK and Europe was between 2012 and 2016, we grew by 4,000%. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. And that was when I won my first international award. I had to go to Vienna or somewhere like that to pick it up. I got, the typical Ryanair or EasyJet little flight over because I didn't have much money in those days. I didn't want to spend company money and, got there. And there was big corporate people flown in from America and all over Europe. I was sitting at this table and people were talking about their businesses being worth billions. And I was thinking, why am I here? What, imposter syndrome again? Why am I here? What's this about? And then they started talking about their business growth. And some of them were saying things like, oh, we've achieved 15%, we've achieved 20%, we've achieved. And then someone asked me the question. I thought, 4,000 since 2000, 4,000% increase since 2012. And okay, it's on a smaller scale, but the percentage growth is still phenomenal. And even those like corporate leaders of billion-dollar industries were floored by the growth. And I was thinking, but it's just our little company. It's just what we do. it didn't seem such a big deal until those other people thought it was a big deal. I hadn't really I don't tune into the numbers, do I? Focus on what we're doing. And for me, what we were doing was we just opened a brand new special school. We were going to be able to provide bespoke education for lots of children with special education needs and disability. So I wasn't thinking about the numbers, but when I compared it, or not so much when I compared it, when these huge corporate representatives, when they thought about it and the way they reacted, that's when I thought, hold on a minute, we've actually achieved something here.